Welcome to Where the Soul Echoes, a space where your soul's journey comes first. This is not simply an astrological update, but an invitation to step into the rhythm of your own becoming. Here we move slowly, we breathe deeply, we honor the truths that stir in the quiet places of the heart. Tomorrow, on the 1st of September at 4:06 a.m., Saturn turns retrograde in Pisces. This is not a moment of urgency or external pressure. This is a deep, reflective pause in the currents of time, a tide pulling us inward, asking us to reckon with the structures of our inner life. The unseen boundaries that have shaped our love, our service, and our spiritual paths. Saturn, the teacher, retraces his steps through the ocean of Pisces, asking us to revisit the lessons of surrender, compassion, boundaries, and spiritual integrity. For those walking the twin flame path, this is not punishment, it is refinement, a call back to the vow beneath the longing. Saturn retrograde is rarely subtle, yet in Pisces, it moves with a soft insistence, like water shaping stone over centuries. It is the river of karmic review flowing through the soul, carrying both lessons and healing. Just a week before the total lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 7th, Saturn slips again into the sign of dissolution, compassion, and spiritual testing, reminding us that the work of soul and union is not always linear. Sometimes the lessons spiral, sometimes the tide returns. Saturn retrograde in Pisces invites a turning inward, a dialogue with the parts of ourselves that have been overlooked, denied, or blurred by expectation. The divine feminine may feel the pull as an awakening of intuition, imagination, and emotional memory. The divine masculine may encounter a quiet insistence to align action with integrity, to meet his shadows without flight. For twin flames, this is not about external reunion, but internal reckoning. The retrograde asks each soul to review what old patterns, illusions, or karmic debts need witnessing. What compassion has been deferred? Where has duty eclipsed desire? The mirror of the connection grows sharper, not in judgment, but in clarity. You may notice dreams that feel instructive rather than random, emotions surfacing that point to long-hidden truths, and moments of uncanny recognition between you and your mirror soul. Saturn asks patience, discipline, and devotion not in rigidity, but in reverence for the inner process. Saturn retrograde in Pisces is the karmic ocean rising to meet us. It reminds us that dreams without structure collapse, that love without boundaries dissolves, and that spiritual devotion requires discipline as much as faith. Collectively, this transit brings up unfinished business, lessons left incomplete, illusions we still cling to, responsibilities we have avoided. The karmic undertone here is humility. Saturn strips away pretense, especially in Pisces, where fantasy often masks fear. This retrograde cycle asks, what illusions am I ready to dissolve? What truth am I ready to anchor? It is not here to punish, but to guide. The stern but loving hand reminding us that freedom is built on responsibility and devotion matures through patience. For the collective, this shift asks us to revisit what was left unresolved. Saturn is the keeper of boundaries and time, the stern hand of karmic law. Pisces dissolves boundaries, blurs definitions, and softens structures into surrender. Together, their meeting is not harsh, but insistent. What has not been fully faced will rise again. Old patterns resurface not as punishment, but as purification. For those walking the twin flame path, this re-entry of Saturn into Pisces is deeply significant. It touches both souls with the reminder that union is not about bypassing the difficult, but about embodying love through the unfinished. It is the moment where illusion must be faced, where avoidance no longer protects, and where truth, though quiet, must be honored. On the collective level, Saturn retrograde in Pisces is a time to review our spiritual infrastructures. Where have we built castles on illusions? Where has faith been intertwined with fear? Collectively, society may feel a subtle slowing, a hum of reflection in our emotional consciousness. The karmic undertones are profound. Past decisions, unresolved contracts, and generational patterns rise to the surface. This is an invitation to recognize what no longer serves the collective soul: cycles of suffering, unexamined beliefs, and reactive behaviors. Spiritually, this transit whispers, you cannot escape the currents of the unseen. They will shape you, mold you, and refine you if you are willing to meet them with honesty. Compassion is demanded, not sentimentality, but a deep, steady recognition of the interconnectedness of all beings. For those walking the twin flame path, this collective energy magnifies the internal work necessary for alignment. Separation and union are reflected not in outer circumstances, but in the fidelity to your inner truth. The last season of Saturn in Pisces may have surfaced disappointments, endings, or subtle disillusionments in your spiritual journey. Perhaps you were asked to surrender something you clung to, or to acknowledge a dream that needed clearer ground. With this retrograde re-entry, the collective is asked not simply to try again, but to deepen, to recognize where the lesson was only half absorbed, to meet the ache without turning away. This is a season of review, not punishment, but refinement. Not collapse, but clarity. You may feel the pull to old wounds, but this time with the wisdom of hindsight. You are stronger now, clearer now, steadier now. Saturn insists on integrity, Pisces insists on compassion. Together, they remind us that love is both structure and surrender. The last season of Saturn in Pisces may have surfaced disappointments, endings, or subtle disillusionments in your spiritual journey. Perhaps you were asked to surrender something you clung to, or to acknowledge a dream that needed clearer ground. With this retrograde re-entry, the collective is asked not simply to try again, but to deepen, to recognize where the lesson was only half absorbed, to meet the ache without turning away. This is a season of review, not punishment, but refinement, not collapse, but clarity. You may feel the pull to old wounds, but this time with the wisdom of hindsight. You are stronger now, clearer now, steadier now. Saturn insists on integrity, Pisces insists on compassion. Together, they remind us that love is both structure and surrender. For the divine feminine, you may feel a stirring deep within, a call to surrender illusions of control. Saturn retrograde in Pisces is your invitation to witness your own emotional architecture. Look at the ways you have structured your love, your vulnerability, your dreams. Notice the moments when devotion became self-erasure, when compassion became codependency. You're being asked to move slowly, to journal, to breathe, to hold your own heart with steadiness. Longing may rise, treat it as compass, not wound. Fear may surface, let it speak, but do not obey it blindly. Your intuition is the altar, and under the sky, it will speak with clarity if you honor it with ritual, reflection, and quiet presence. You may feel a compulsion to return to your creative practices, writing, painting, music, movement as acts of devotion. A gentle insistence to face emotional patterns that have been hidden, particularly in love and past partnerships. The resonance of past life echoes, inviting forgiveness and integration. You do not need to chase resolution. The work is internal. The union, when aligned, flows from the depth of your own authenticity. Beloved, under this sky you are invited to soften, but not to disappear. Saturn in Pisces reminds you that your sensitivity is sacred, yet it asks you to give it form. Your intuition is your compass, but without boundaries, it can drown in others' emotions. You may feel a deeper call to spiritual discipline, prayer, journaling, daily rituals that keep you anchored in your own soul rather than drifting in theirs. You are not asked to shrink your compassion, but to refine it. To remember that saying no can be as holy as saying yes. This retrograde whispers to you that your empathy is a gift when it is rooted in self-respect. Your dreams deserve structure, not sacrifice. Your union flourishes when you hold your center. For the feminine, this return may stir tender places. Old sacrifices, old patterns of overgiving, or subtle martyrdom may resurface, not to undo you, but to be finally released. Saturn whispers, you are not meant to dissolve into nothingness for love. Pisces reminds, your compassion is holy, but your boundaries are too. Under the sky, the feminine is invited to anchor in self-trust, to allow herself to feel deeply without losing herself in the flood. If longing rises, let it point you inward, not outward. If grief surfaces, let it cleanse, not drown. You are not asked to prove, perform, or chase. You are asked to stand steady in the temple of your own soul. You will feel that. Your compassion does not require your disappearance. Boundaries are sacred, not barriers. Your tenderness is strength, not weakness. For the divine masculine, Saturn retrograde is a moment to turn inward and meet the truths he may have been avoiding. Responsibilities and commitments may feel heavy, but this heaviness is not punishment. It is the gravity of alignment. He may notice patterns in love, career, or spiritual practice that no longer serve. There may be conversations delayed too long, truths half met, or boundaries left unclaimed. Saturn asks him, can he hold your presence without striving to perform? Can he honor his emotions while remaining loyal in his responsibilities? Can he witness his own shadows without projecting them onto another? The retrograde energy offers him the chance to course correct, to re-anchor in integrity, to act with clarity in situations where confusion or illusion once prevailed. It is not a time for heroic gestures, but for honest, small steps taken consistently. For him, this transit places a mirror in his hands. Saturn retrograde asks him to see clearly where he has avoided responsibility, in love, in spirit, in his own soul work. In Pisces, this reflection is not harsh. It is compassionate, but undeniable. He may feel the weight of consequences for choices made in illusion or avoidance. Promises left empty, words spoken without action, or reliance on fantasy rather than integrity may surface now. Saturn is calling him into maturity, to ground his love not in wishful thinking, but in embodied truth. He is learning that devotion is not performance. It is followed through. It is the courage to show up consistently even when it is inconvenient. And so this retrograde guides him gently but firmly into accountability, healing the places where he has floated instead of led. For the masculine, Saturn's re-entry into Pisces presses on responsibility, not only in outer commitments, but in the inner waters of his soul. He may feel the weight of truths unspoken, choices delayed, or feelings avoided. Pisces dissolves the old armor. Saturn demands accountability within the softness. This is not about perfection. It is about presence, about finally facing what has been postponed. Perhaps a conversation long avoided, a boundary needing clarity, a truth waiting to be lived. The retrograde motion offers him space to step back, reflect, and then step forward with integrity. He will feel that he can no longer postpone the truth. Integrity is his devotion made visible. Presence, not performance, is his offering. Under Saturn retrograde in Pisces, the mirror between twin flames sharpens. Separation is not absence, it is reflection. Union is not immediate, it is preparation. In separation, you may feel the weight of longing, a deep ache that demands reflection. Ask yourself, what patterns am I still holding? What emotional debts do I owe to myself or to the past? How can I release without abandoning my truth? In union, clarity may arise not as sudden fireworks, but as steady alignment, small mutual acknowledgements, shared rituals, and compassionate presence. Patterns you once ignored now illuminate the path forward. Shared lessons emerge in daily actions, quiet communication, and repeated synchronicities. Mirrored lessons are potent. What you resist in yourself, you will feel in your twin flame. What you embrace in yourself, you invite into the connection. Saturn retrograde guides both toward a higher level of emotional fidelity, spiritual service, and embodied love. To work with Saturn retrograde in Pisces, writing each morning, write down 3 truths you are ready to face and 3 illusions you release. Do not analyze, simply observe. You can sit by water or visualize waves washing over your body. Feel old karmic patterns dissolve without judgment. Keep a dream journal. Reflect on messages or recurring symbols. They may guide your twin flame journey or inner realignment. You can engage in an artistic practice that feels devotional, not performative. Let your heart guide the motion. And if you wish, establish a private signal song or a phrase that reminds you both of shared energy, even if physical separation persists. Repeat these daily. Small, consistent acts are the rhythm Saturn craves. Integrity in the mundane is the portal to profound transformation. Let the tide of Saturn retrograde in Pisces meet your heart with gentleness. You may speak these softly to yourself. I release illusions that no longer serve my soul. I honor the depth of my emotions and the lessons they carry. I act from integrity even when unseen. I witness my twin flame and myself with compassion and clarity. I trust the slow, sacred unfolding of love and alignment. See the river of Saturn washing over you, each wave carrying clarity, each ebb holding grace. Let the retrograde become a devotional rhythm, a time to cultivate fidelity to your inner truth, to honor your love, and to prepare the soil of your heart for the blooms yet to come. Step into this reflection, breathe, witness, receive. Let the soul echo. For twin flames, Saturn's return to Pisces is the mirror of karmic refinement. This is not a time for escape, projection, or idealization. It is a time when the illusions between you, the myths, the wishful thinking, the avoidance of truth are dissolved. If you are in separation, this retrograde can deepen the ache, not to punish, but to teach. Saturn shows you that separation is not a verdict, but a curriculum. You are asked to master your own soul lessons before union can fully anchor. If you are in communication or together, this transit slows things down. It invites you to revisit the foundations of your bond. Is your love practical as well as spiritual? Do your boundaries honor both souls? Are you living devotion or still performing love as fantasy? This is a refining fire disguised as water. A testing of vows not through drama, but through consistency. Saturn asks, can your love hold its shape when the tide recedes? Together, the feminine and masculine are invited into sacred review. Patterns that once looped may rise again, but now they are mirrors for liberation, not traps. Conversations lean toward closure, not collapse. Echoes of the past return only so they may be seen with new eyes and finally laid down. This is not a moment of illumination or sudden union. It is quieter, subtler, like the ocean reclaiming what was left on the shore. The medicine of this transit is completion. Threads are woven in, knots untangled, and the soul's pace honored. September opens with Saturn's return to Pisces, the great karmic teacher entering once more the waters of compassion and dissolution. This is not a new chapter, but a return to what was left half-written. For twin flames, it is the invitation to face the unfinished currents of your union, not with fear, but with courage, softness, and devotion. The feminine anchors compassion with boundaries. The masculine steps into accountability with presence. Together, both souls are invited into coherence. This is a season of humility, of honesty, of sacred review. Trust that what returns now is here for completion. Trust that the spiral of your path is not regression, but refinement. Trust that every unfinished lesson is only another chance to become more fully aligned with love. If something here stirred you, softened you, or whispered truth to your heart, please like this video. Subscribe to Where the Soul Echoes and share your reflections below. Your story matters. Your voice resonates. Your soul is listening. Let the mirror reveal you. Let the soul echo. Step into the mirror, reflect, awaken, transform.